So over the last 2 weeks since we last spoke to you, what's been the most pressing issue discussed at the Big 12 level?
It's just, kind of twofold. One is the various scheduling models of, when we would start. Can we get a 12-game season in? Is it a partial conference-only season? Is it, a hybrid of, something maybe in the spring? I saw today where Bob said we could start in the fall and the flu season hits, finish in the spring. So we've been talking about that. And the other thing is just, all right, no matter when we would start it, what's the amount of time the athletes would need and coaches would need to kind of be ready? And most everybody's kind of in the 6-week return to play mode. In other words, a couple of weeks of conditioning, maybe some walkthroughs, 3 weeks of your traditional camp, and then going to your week of game prep. And there's been some models of 8 weeks, but most everybody's been kind of talking a 6-week return to play. So those have been the two big issues we've been having a lot of conversation about.
Would you say you're more optimistic, less optimistic, or about the same from the last time we talked to you that a season in some form will get in?
Yeah, I'm probably about the same. It just, there's so much uncertainty about, states and when their state's going to open and not open, and, what's the safety factor you need to put into place, because no matter what model we look at, whether it's 6 or, how many weeks, there's still the piece of, okay, when do you bring them back? Do you have to bring them back 14 days before that starts and test them and, put them in quarantine? Just a lot of unknowns. So, I think everybody, again, wants to play football. They want to do it in a way that, we can generate revenue, so hopefully fans can be there. It's just what's the best way to do it. There's some out there that say, well, let's wait till we know for sure and just play everything in the spring. Well, that gets complicated because you got the NFL draft, you got, players playing in the spring and then coming back next fall, and what's the safety factor there? So, yeah, I do know that everybody wants to play it. It's just what's the best way to do it with so many unknowns out there right now.
Can football happen without the general student population being back on campus?
There's some debate on that. I think everybody is, kind of deciding that, there's a possibility for that to happen. In other words, we obviously can control our athletes a little better and check on them a little more frequently than in the general student population. And so I think there are some folks out there that see that as a possibility where we can't have the athletes on campus. There are some that don't agree with that. But, and again, our president and my conversations with him is, their goal is to get everything going from the university as normal as possible in the fall, whether that's, all students in class or, again, a combination of some in-class amount or however the case may be. Some schools have already announced that they're going to open in the fall. I think the Iowa schools came out and said, I think Nebraska said they were going to open in the fall. So I think we'll just go through that. But I think our president understands that if for some reason the kids can't be in the classes per se, but we could play a football season, that he would, I think, generally speaking, would feel okay as long as we have the safety factors in place to check on our athletes. So
that would be, I assume, just enough testing predominantly there, being able to have enough testing for the athletes if they were there? Yeah, daily testing, temperatures, being able to quarantine somebody if they were to get sick, all of those things. And then that's the other thing, internally, what we've been focusing on is, what plans do we need to have in place to bring our athletes back, and what systems, and is it a daily test? Is it a test only if somebody gets sick? And, what kind of equipment do we have or need? And obviously right now we don't have the test, but would we be able to get enough of them come July? So, just a lot of just what ifs and conversations about putting a plan together when that time comes.